with the most promising name and a musical grandiosity that was and is proclaimed to evolve into the true shimmering black gem of 2020. We have all been secretly awaiting an album next to the final terminating 2019 days, weeks, perhaps even months. As I've obviously and deeply unfortunately not been present during that time where the blackened spirits of music creation gathered and step by step formed the core of Gothic music creation, I still have the capacity of observing a special connection from one specific album to the creative minds and experimentally driven beginning of the darkest ages when it comes to the absolute core of Gothic music creation. So long live the blackened spirits, with the musical key to our long shadowed, but never truly forgotten and most beloved darkened past. 1,000 graves. So welcome back guys to an entirely new episode of Enchanted Escape, indeed a special one as you have possibly already recognized. We will be referring exclusively to the album 1000 Graves by Sonsombre, which has just been released some days ago, and I am still currently waiting for my physical copy to arrive because I am most excited to finally hold this masterpiece in my hands, which we all have appreciated deeply in our blackened hearts, as you possibly as well. Write in the comments down below which is your personal favorite song from the album. There are so many different songs that I perceive that it is unbelievably difficult. It is such a challenge to choose a favorite from this stunning collection of 11 different songs, because all of them kind of draw the listener in a very distinctive atmosphere-wise created parallelosphere. But as the two previous releases, A Funeral for the Sun, which was my favorite album back then, as well as The Veils of Ending, of course, have already mastered their musical way into our blackened souls, the new album even kind of exceeds the capacity of reaching out to the darkly passionate listeners that we just have to claim this release one of the most distinctive milestones in the entire range and entire huge field of Gothic music creations. Rightly opening the doors which have been closed, never truly forgotten, but shadowed and kind of gathered dust over the years, but still really longed for making a connection to today's music evolving process. Let's rightly begin with the song Like Rats, which had a deep impact on me as a listener. The haunted and especially forceful vocal expression style expressed in the chorus gets then confronted and even kind of smooth with the most deeply and intensely shuddering whispering passages in which we truly feel the contempt, the hatred and the internal pain of the spirits of ourselves bound to a kind of sense of a distant and false reality which we truly always seek to escape, but leaves us alone in our own horrifying blackened tragedy. Especially also the guitar lines accentuate this very distant and lonesome feel that our musical heroes from the 80s would just truly take off their hats for this musical masterpiece. Slumber, which made the introduction to my video today, creates the perhaps most fearful scenario of the entire album that rightly begins to unfold in front of the listener's eyes. It ideally and very fearfully reflects the nightly wonder of an unknown and never to the human eye exposed before graveyard whose ground is trembling below our own existence. The song Highgate then continues the scenery and this very frightening scenario that we've just been experiencing in the previous song. but that has yet vanished but still roams in our minds, as the song Highgate is possibly referring to the eponymous cemetery which is located in London, that we as listeners are kind of emotionally realizing a near-death experience of an individual that is secretly following our steps whenever we're going, constantly lurking around the haunted corners of our own anxieties and in everyday life without us publicly knowing it and recognizing it even. The capacity of musicians mastering such a spiritual depth within one song is what I personally consider truly admirable about this specific song. Even when the song is slowly vanishing, the electronically created bell sounds then set a final reminder to kind of watch out for the non-visible shadows that are constantly following our own path. 𝐻𝐻⁰ which counts as the song-wise album representation, it does already count to my absolute favourites from the album. The reflection of what is currently happening, what has happened in the past, and what will be happening with us beyond gets accentuated by the most suspensefully and thrilling guitar riffs, reminding us that the inner voices never truly vanish, but yet they seem to be exclusively bound to the darkness in which they regain their powerful forces, and they kind of stop threatening us when the light turns on. Which takes us to another true treasure on the album, 𝐻𝐻⁰, Lights Out. Pause my video, skip to the official music video of Lights Out. It is purely stunning in its individually cinematographically created darkened musical layers. But as you have possibly already ordered your copy of 𝐻𝐻⁰, all links are listed down in my description box as always. Lights Out draws the listener into a disastrous vision of the dark in a musical way, which the individual eventually has the capacity of transfiguring anything, even itself. The darkest atmosphere in this specific song, which gets mostly built up and created by a very intense musical, especially guitar-driven performance. The next song that I absolutely have to introduce is called Fire. The metaphysical as well as universal escapism in the course of the song makes us succumb to the guitar play right away. Especially the vocal passages have such a deeply thrilling impact on the listener because Brandon's uniquely kind of forcefulness with it, which gets expressed in the vocal passages, delivers the exact same spirits that have always and ever fascinated us in the two previous albums. Until the Sun Goes Down is the next song that I surely have to include in my video today. The guitar lines, which deliver such musical grandiosity that they can transform into both either the goth rock forcefulness as well as projecting the soothingly calm feel before the storm is going to be exploding, especially when those kind of different guitar line features and guitar line feels get in a transitioning process and deliver all those different crossovers. That is what I personally perceive as so intriguing. Darker skies then musically cast blackened veil over the listener's mind. As soon as the vocal passage then sets in, we as darkly passionate listeners sense the metaphysically created and metaphysically emerged place of utter lonesomeness, close to the edge of the world. It truly develops in an emotional kind of confession, the inner process of slowly getting cold, but yet having an internal fire burning inside of us that continues to burn not just our physical, but also our mental existence from the inside out. Let's continue with the glory of this procession. The feel of being cornered and spiritually overwhelmed in a true in-depth procession leads us listeners to being completely mentally exposed within the course of the song. So we have one final shimmering black gem left from the album 1000 Graves, and that is of course the song Remember Me. The combination and individually driven, half-spoken and half-sung passages that truly causes deeply frightening blackened shivers over the listener's existence. The threatening call remains and the spirits will continue to follow us. Death is just another form of communication and will never truly be the end. So if you now 𝐬𝐻𝐻 bound to the songs, just as I am, just as we possibly all are, choose the link which is most according to your personal preference. We have so many options. Get yourself the physical copy of the most intriguing album of 2020 with the blackened doors of the goth rock glory of the past. You can either get your physical copy via 𝐿𝐴 Records officially for all US orders and worldwide customers, which is the new label where 𝐿𝐴nsombre is going to be releasing his further records. If you're coming from Europe, you can also purchase your very own copy at Post Gothic, which is an exclusive print. So hurry up and get the incarnation of the very definite Blackened Spirits now. For all digital music appreciators, of course, this album is also digitally downloadable via the Bandcamp app on the Bandcamp official website. Keep the blackened goth rock spirits alive. Have an enchantingly gloomy day as always. Lots of love and creative spirits. See you soon.